In this lesson, I'm going to introduce phrasal verbs to you. We're going to say what a phrasal verb is, why it's really important for any learner of English to know and use phrasal verbs, and we're also going to say why they're so incredibly difficult to learn. This lesson is particularly useful if you are an intermediate, upper intermediate, or an advanced student of English. But even if you're pre-intermediate, maybe even beginner too, you're going to find a lot of useful information that's going to serve you and help you learn English in the future. So without further ado, let's talk about phrasal verbs. So what's a phrasal verb? In case you don't know, a phrasal verb is a verb that goes together with a preposition. In theory, there's nothing complicated about that, right? Let's take pick up, for instance. So we know the meaning of pick, we know the meaning of up, so what's the problem? Well, let me illustrate the problem for you. Let's have a look at this sentence. I couldn't pick up the rock. Well, obviously it was too heavy for me to lift. In this context, pick up means to lift something off the ground or off the floor, wherever this thing is. No problem, right? But let's have a look at another sentence. How about the meaning of pick up here? Does it mean to lift? Well, definitely it doesn't. If I say, could you pick up John from school today? I want to say, could you please collect John from school? So in this context, pick up, as we said, has no connection to lifting things off the ground. It actually means to collect somebody from a given place. This is a very common meaning that a lot of students need to study and know at the B1 level. So how about moving a level higher? Have a look at this sentence. What does pick up mean here? It's definitely not about lifting. It's definitely not about collecting somebody from somewhere. It's actually about learning. Children pick up new words quickly, don't they? Absolutely, they learn fast. You can use pick up in the context of learning new abilities or skills, and pick up is definitely a very useful phrasal verb to pick up. So we already have three meanings for pick up. Lift something off the ground, a pre-intermediate meaning. To collect somebody from a given place, an intermediate meaning. And to learn something, an upper intermediate meaning. And this doesn't end here, as you might have imagined. Let's have a look at an advanced meaning of pick up. Have a look. So what does pick up mean here? It's definitely not connected with any of the meanings we know from this video, but we can kind of guess what happened to the wind from the context of this sentence, right? So do you think the wind got stronger or its intensity decreased? Which one would you say? It got stronger, right? The wind suddenly picked up. It became stronger. It's very natural for native speakers to use pick up in this context. And of course, our journey with pick up doesn't end here, because we're missing a proficiency meaning of this verb. Have a look. What does pick up mean here? What do you think? In here, pick up is used in the meaning of restarting an activity that we finished earlier. For example, in this situation, you can imagine that you were at a work meeting yesterday, and the meeting went on and on and on, and it was just too late to continue it. So you had to stop. Now that you have come back to work today, you're going to restart the meeting at the point where it finished yesterday. In other words, you are going to pick up where you finished yesterday. Now, as you can imagine, this is not a complete list of meanings of pick up. So this little exercise, where we explored the meanings of pick up, shows us a couple of things about phrasal verbs. First, it shows us that one phrasal verb can have a variety of meanings, and needless to say, this makes it really difficult for students to remember phrasal verbs. And second, it's a myth that only advanced students need phrasal verbs. As you could see from the example with pick up, it's already used at the pre-intermediate level. And there are many more basic phrasal verbs that even beginners in English should know. But these are not the only two things that make phrasal verbs so difficult for learners of English. Now, before we move on to the final part of this lesson, I just wanted to let you know that if you really want to improve your English, you should consider joining my online learning community, Your English Upgrade. Your English Upgrade is a wonderful place if you want to practice grammar, vocabulary, pronunciation, and improve your overall confidence in learning English. You can join me on 2 live weekly webinars where we'll be studying English together, and you'll have access to a variety of resources and courses on the platform. These, by the way, are being added to the platform every week, so it's basically a growing learning community which you can be a part of. And of course, you'll be able to download the pronunciation files and the PDFs that accompany this video and any other video that I make for YouTube. The link to the community is in the description. I hope to see you there. Another great difficulty, as you have just seen in this little exercise, is that even though you might know the meaning of the verb and the preposition, very often you'll have to create a completely new meaning for these two words together in your brain. This is very, very hard, because suddenly you have to be treating the verb and the preposition as a completely new word. And, needless to say, you have to pay attention to the context in which it is used. And that's another difficulty when it comes to phrasal verbs. Lots and lots of phrasal verbs are very context dependent. For example, if we went back to the meaning of pick up at the advanced level, we said that it meant to get stronger. But if we used this phrasal verb in the meaning of getting stronger in any other situation outside of the context of the wind and the weather, it would make absolutely no sense. For instance, if I started lifting heavier weights at the gym and I wanted to say that I have become stronger and said I have really picked up in my exercise, nobody would really understand what I'm trying to say. So you may be asking yourself right now, well, if phrasal verbs are that complicated, why should I really bother learning them? Well, there's a good reason why you should. Phrasal verbs are an extremely natural part of English vocabulary. If a native speaker has a choice between a normal verb, and a phrasal verb, they're normally going to go for the phrasal verb. So if you don't understand phrasal verbs, it's going to be very difficult for you to take part in any everyday conversation with native speakers. So it's really worth your time learning those verbs, and if you learn them, you'll see that you start sounding natural and confident in everyday English. Now, there's one thing that's very important when it comes to learning phrasal verbs, and it's a general rule that you should apply to any phrasal verb you learn. Basically, when learning phrasal verbs, learn one meaning at a time, and always in context. Now, if you'd like to build up your knowledge of phrasal verbs and use them more naturally in everyday situations, you're definitely in the right place. Just pick any of the Verb It Up videos here and you're going to learn phrasal verbs in context with tips and tricks on how to use them. So pick a video, press play, and enjoy the learning process.